Don't look now, but the Chicago Bulls are a fun team to watch, and they are undefeated. Woo! It's been great watching this team. Chicago Bears have major announcements on the injury front, getting a player back for a change, but we also add another player to the injury list. Blackhawks look to get their winning ways, or at least point scoring ways, back on track, and then we'll discuss all the other teams right after the intro. Good morning, Chicago sports fans. Welcome to another episode of Chi-Town Sports Central. It's your boy, Big Kev, holding it down for Chi-Town. We're going to get into it, but of course, hit me up at Big Kev from the Chi, Big Kev from DACHI. Like, comment, and share. And don't forget to follow the rest of the Chi-Town sports family by typing in your favorite Chicago sports team, putting the word Central behind it, and you will find one of the gang. Of course, fighting Illini Central, NBA Central, NFL Central, and the Chi Bulls podcast with C-Dub and Bobby. All right, let's get into it. The Chicago Bulls took care of business versus the Atlanta Hawks last night to the tune of 128 to 123. And boy, was this a fun game to watch. And frankly, this is the type of game that the Chicago Bulls find a way to lose. They started off kind of stagnant to the tune of 35 to 27 in the first quarter. Then they outscored the Atlanta Hawks for the rest of the game, 30 to 23 in the second quarter, 41 to 34 in the third quarter. And they withstood losing the lead and furious attempts to come back to win the fourth quarter. They didn't win the fourth quarter, but they won the game 128 to 123. I mean, seriously, the Bulls tried their best to lose this game yesterday, and they did not do it. Isaac Okoro finally got on the scoreboard. We had 8 players score in double figures, and even though we had 14 turnovers, the fourth quarter was the game was really how they won the game. Man, everybody contributed in this. Everybody who's played, with the exception of Jalen Smith, scored a basket. And Jalen Smith only played 7 minutes. I'm sure he could have scored a basket or two if he would have got 15, 20 minutes. But even Julian Phillips got on the scoreboard. Now, the Bulls started off with 23 3-point attempts in the first half, and they only made like 6 of them or something like that. The second half, they ended up with 43 total, so they put up 20 more threes, but they made 16 overall to get closer to 40%. And that was big because they hit some big three-pointers in that fourth quarter. Josh Giddey being one of the guys that put up numbers. Ayo was just lights out. I have complete faith in Ayo when he shoots three ball. He was 4 for 6 yesterday. Might be the best three-point shooter on the Bulls team. And frankly, the bench. We have a bench mob again. Before we get into the bench mob, we'll just talk about the starters. I mentioned Isaac Okoro finally getting on the board with 10 points. And you had 16 from Matas Buzelis with a crazy baseline dunk, highlight of the season for him so far. Vucevic, 17 points, 9 9 assists, and 17 rebounds, going along with 2 steals. My man just missed a triple-double. Speaking of triple-doubles, who just missed, Trey Jones with 14 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. And then you had another, well, not really. Josh Giddey had 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 13 rebounds, but none bigger than the last rebound that he got after following his shot, grabbing the rebound, icing the game, putting the Chicago Bulls out of reach for the Atlanta Hawks catch to seal the victory. And again, I mentioned the bench. With the exception of Jalen Smith, everyone contributed big time to this game. Patrick Williams, who's been playing motivated basketball all season, shout out to Flower Power, 12 points for him, 2 assists and 3 rebounds. And then Julian Phillips gave you spot minutes, but still 5 points, 1 for 2 for 3, and then 15 points for Kevin Huerter. He was only 1 for 3 for 3, 6 for 8 from the field, though. For some reason, he attacked the basket with abandon yesterday, and I like to see him do that more because the first 2 games of the season, he came in and he was just jacking threes. But if you can get to the basket and put the points on the board, that's all that really matters. And then you had Ayo Dosunmu, who was the player of the game, 21 points, 4 for 6 from 3, 7 for 10 from the field, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, and no turnovers. Everybody that came off the bench was a plus, pretty much a plus on the plus minus, with the exception of Jalen Smith. Kevin Herter was a -3. But again, what a game from the Chicago Bulls, who had to contend with the Atlanta Hawks, who played a good game. They were 14, they were 11 for 32 from three, but they shot 50% from the field. They only had 6 turnovers, but you had contributions from pretty much everybody as well on their team. Jalen Johnson hit us with 25. Kristaps Porzingis was hot all night, 27 from him, 21 from Trae Young, but he just looked god awful from behind the 3-point line, taking terrible shots. But we know that Io locks him up. But then gives credit to the whole team. They held him. He did have 21, but he was 7 for 22 from the field and 1 for 10 from three. Now he did have 17 assists though. And then Dyson Daniels gave them nothing. 1 for 8 from the field, just 2 points. And then off the bench, Okongwu gave them 18 and then 17 from Alexander Walker. Those guys went 6 for 9 from three. So that bench effort almost caught up with the Bulls. But hey, we'll take the victory. And this has me wondering, what will the Chicago Bulls look like when they get Kobe White back? How will they look? Because Kobe White is, the way the reason why this team is winning right now is they're completely unselfish. They're not out there stat hunting. They're not trying to score 30, 40, or 50, even though it seems like somebody scores 50 at least once a night for the NBA right now. Even former Chicago Bull Laurie Markkinen put up 50 the other day, not to mention Austin Reeves and Aaron Gordon. And those are some unlikely 50-point scorers. But hey, maybe they turned the sliders up for the NBA to take the attention off of the gambling scandals, but that's neither here nor there. Kobe White is going to have to integrate himself into this team the right way. It cannot be this is my team, I'm the captain, give me the ball and get out the way. We've seen that. We've seen that. We've seen that. We take on Sacramento next, and we know how they play basketball, and we know we're all too familiar with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, two ISO ball type players, not really necessarily playing within the Florida offense. Not always, but a lot of the times. And it looks a lot different with those guys no longer on the team. This is a Billy Donovan type team. You got a bunch of young guys under the age of 25 or close to 25. Vucevic is the oldest guy on the team, and the rest of these guys are, under 30, and they're all playing selfless basketball. They're moving without the ball. They're cutting backdoor, which is something that we here on Chi-Town Sports Central have been talking about for years now. Just cut. Somebody go to the basket. Somebody make themselves available. We're seeing it from Okoro. We're seeing it from Julian Phillips. We're even seeing it from Patrick Williams, who struggled to do that throughout his career. So winning is contagious. This is the first time that the team has been 3-0 since that first iteration of the winning team that AK wanted to put together with Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and the likes. And now they're looking to go 4-0 for the first time since that season as well. And it's not going to be easy because Zach LaVine and DeRozan and company are playing good basketball, albeit not necessarily winning basketball. So let's see if we can keep it going. Let's see if we can keep it going. The Bulls got down early in this last game versus Atlanta, and they figured out a way to come back all the way to cut the lead down to 1, I believe, before halftime, and all bets were off after that. It was the Bulls playing from ahead and Atlanta trying to catch up. So shout out to the Chicago Bulls for starting off 3-1. This is a fun team to watch. If you want to hear anything else about the Chicago Bulls, head on over to Chicago Bulls Central and the Shy Bulls podcast with C Dub and Bobby. All right, moving right along, the Chicago Bears are getting ready to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bears are 4-3. The Bengals are 3-5. Both teams want to keep their playoff hopes alive, and the Bears are in a very crowded NFC playoff hunt. And it's going to take a lot of effort. If you got to win the games that you're supposed to win. We already know that losing to Baltimore, which is not something that should have happened. But again, you're in a situation where most people had the Bears at 8 or 9 wins for the season. Pretty much all Bears fans have the delusion of expectations toward making the playoffs every year, and it'd be good to see them make the playoffs. But it's not necessarily something that was supposed to happen this year. They would be ahead of schedule if they did. However, I'm not letting these guys off the hook. Now, injuries, the decimated D-back situation last game was a lot, and it helped the Baltimore Ravens. However, with Shamar Turner tearing his ACL and being lost for the rest of the season, it looks like the Chicago Bears have finally decided to bring back edge rusher Austin Booker. Now, it's important because we also had Dominique Robinson, who lost he got injured to a high ankle sprain. He's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks. So, Jesus, the Bears need help in that pass rush, and Austin Booker is going to have to be the one. Bears currently have the only 14 sacks on the season. Third worst pass rush win rate as a team in the league. And frankly, Montez Sweat, Dio, Grady Jarrett, those guys are supposed to be out there taking care of business, and they spent a lot of money to bring these guys in, and none of them are really producing. Montez is playing a little bit better. Grady Jarrett has only played like 1 or 2 games. So if we can get my boy we can get Austin Booker out there on the edge and just have him start rushing the quarterback, maybe they can start to get better as a complete unit, complete unit. So another thing the Chicago Bears could do is try to figure out a way to do is to get something in the trade deadline. I've been hearing rumors about maybe Will McDonald the fourth. He's on the New York Jets, and he could only cost about $4 million for the rest of the year, and the cap hit of $5.19 million for 2026 is not a bad thing, but they do need help in that category, maybe in the cornerback room as well. But the Bears are not done. If you've been paying attention to how Ryan Poles does things, he is not afraid to make changes to the roster prior to the trade deadline, which is November 4th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So welcome back, Austin Booker. Now go sack the quarterback, my guy. If you guys want to hear anything else about the Chicago Bears, head on over to Chicago Bears Central, where Hayes is holding it down over there. C-Dub and Bobby, Steve and myself pop in on Sundays, mailbags with C-Dub and Bobby and Hayes. We appreciate the love and support that you guys give us. The Chicago Blackhawks ended their 5-game point scoring streak with a loss to the LA Kings the other night. And now tonight they welcome the Ottawa Senators to the United Center. And the Chicago Blackhawks are going to have to get back to their ways. They need to score points to stay in the mix of this whole playoff situation. Obviously, it's very, very early, but if all you got to do is score points. Right now, they're 2 points behind third place with the Jets, and the Jets have Jonathan Taves. I think we played him on Thursday. That's going to be a good experience for the young Chicago Blackhawks players to see a Chicago Blackhawk legend like Jonathan Taves, who worked his way back to the league at 37 years old. But they're 2 points behind them, and they're 4 points behind the Avalanche for second place. So got to put up points, got to win tonight, and then win against the Jets on Thursday, and you'll find yourself in a situation where you could be in second place. But hey, they've been playing much better than I expected to start the season. So shout out to the Chicago Blackhawks. If you guys want to hear anything else about the Chicago Blackhawks, head on over to Chicago Blackhawks Central, where we're looking for a new host. So if you're interested, let us know. All right, moving right along, the Chicago Cubs. I mentioned yesterday that they're looking for new starting pitching to kind of shore up that pitching room with Justin Steele being injured and Shota Imanaga struggling mightily yet last season. And they could go after Framber Valdez from the Houston Astros. We know him. He's a World Series champion. He's consistent. He's one of those guys who can strike batters out. He has 750 strikeouts last season. Since 2022. So since 2022, he has a 3.21 ERA with a record of 57 and 35 and 121 strikes with 750 strikeouts and 7 innings pitched. So this guy is really solid. He's probably the best pitcher in free agent, and he's a lefty. So those things benefit and could benefit the the Chicago Cubs. Sorry, I talk about too many different Chicago teams. For the next couple of seasons, you don't have to necessarily sign him for 7 or 8 years. You can sign him for 2 or 3 seasons. Pay him a decent little amount, go after Dylan Cease, bring both of those guys into the pitcher's room, and that'll put the Chicago Cubs in true contention for long playoff runs. So pay attention because especially if they lose Kyle Tucker in free agency, because they'll be having some money to spend, and they could do so by shoring up that pitcher's room. Valdez is a definite. You got to pay attention to him. You got to look at him. He would be an upgrade in that pitcher's room. So, hey, if you can get Valdez and Dylan Cease to trot out there with Justin Steele and Shota Imanaga, I say the Cubs will be doing good. But hey, if you want to hear anything else about the Chicago Cubs, head over to Chicago Cubs Central, where my boy Big Mike is holding it down. And for the Chicago Blackhawks, former not Blackhawks, Chicago White Sox, former Chicago White Sox announcer Darren Jackson gives his take on when he believes the Chicago White Sox will be a true contender. He says it's going to be about 3 years. He says, I'm looking at 3 years. 3 years is a team to me that you're saying now they are competing for the division, and who knows where it can go from there. He was talking to MLB.com. Next year, the team is going to be competing to get close to 500. That's why I look at the year after that. You can build on the 500. You're saying we have the pitching that has been here. They are established. We've got the players who have developed, and we have some players who we brought in. And I think we've got the staff, the manager to make them intelligent players and cut down on their mistakes. So 3 years from now, to me, they are a team that's in the playoffs. And honestly, I can see that. I can see 2 or 3 years. Next year, they could be a surprise playoff team, depending on how well they handle free agency, how well they develop these young guys. We already know all too well the Kyle Teals and the rest of these guys, the Chase Maedroffs, the they got a nice young core. They have to get the pitching under control. And if they can improve on the 20-game improvement that they had this season, and then if they're looking at a team and as in August that's sitting at around 500, maybe they can make a playoff push. But I understand what Darren Jackson is saying about the Chicago White Sox. They're not that good of a team yet. They got to get these players established. The manager's going into his second year. He's still pretty young himself. So maybe 3 years, but I say 2 years. I say 2 years. There's a possibility that they can make some noise this upcoming season, but I definitely see them being in the mix seriously after next season. And then that third year, they could be what the Toronto Blue Jays are right now, but they have to start to pay people. They got to start to pay people because right now this penny pinching approach is not going to work. Right, the World Series is being played by the two of the highest paid teams in all of Major League. So you got to pay to play if you want to win in baseball. All right, if y'all want to hear anything else about the Chicago White Sox, head on over to Chicago White Sox Central. Hit that like button. We will be updating soon on that channel. And then finally, the Chicago Sky. No real news, just Angel Reese was on 2K26's Slam cover. NBA 2K26 put SGA, Carmelo Anthony, and Angel Reese on the cover. And I already know people are going to be feeling some type of way, but you can't ignore the impact that Angel Reese has on the WNBA, even though the Chicago Sky were just 10-34 last season, which is awful. She averaged 14.7 points, 12.6 rebounds, and 3.7 assists. So at the end of the day, she led the league in rebounding and for the second consecutive year. Well, until she got injured, because I think A. Wilson ended up leading the league in rebounds after Angel Reese got injured toward the end of last season. And she had 23 double-doubles. So I ain't trying to hear it. Shout out to Angel Reese. We are very excited for anything that she does in Chicago. You know, Chicago Sky fans love Angel Reese. It is what it is. People around the world love Angel Reese. All right, there you have it, man. This is your boy Big Kev holding it down for all things Chi Town. We appreciate the love and support. Don't forget to follow me at Big Kev from the Chi, Big Kev from DACHI, or head on over to Chicago White Sox Central. Hit that like button from when we get real updates about the Chicago White Sox. I will be over there. And then also, don't forget to follow the rest of the Chi-Town sports family. You got just type in your favorite Chicago sports team, put the word Central behind it. You will find one of us. Fighting Illini Central, NBA Central, NFL Central, and the Shy Bulls podcast from C Dub and Bobby. Appreciate you guys. Go Bulls. And we're going to see you guys next time. Peace.